my favourite thriller authors. Hello! And welcome to another bookish video from me, Johanna, me my dog books. I have a huge stack of books with me because today's video is about my favourite thriller authors. So I've grabbed loads of books from my shelves of authors in the thriller genre that are auto-buys for me, go-to authors that I really enjoy. This is not, what do you call it when it's not like the full list? I can't remember. But this is many of the authors that I will get excited about if they have a new book coming out. So one of the authors, which weirdly I've only read one of their books, but I have the others on my TBR, is, from the top of the pile, the author is Cani Manato, and she's a Japanese author. This is one of the books of theirs that I've read. I think in America it has a different cover, but if you haven't read this author before and you love smart, chilling thrillers, then check it out, especially this one. To be fair, the only one I've read, but I adored it. Her books are dark and twisty, but also full of emotional depths, and she also writes women really well. And well, certainly in this one, I think. Is it multiple POVs? I'm not sure if it's in this one, but she does have a reputation for writing in multiple points of view, and she's very good. I mean, I like gore, but if you don't, she can create and build unsettling tension without it. And in this one, you get a good perspective on justice, shame, and societal pressure in Japan. Check this one out because I highly recommend it. Then there is the queen of dark thrillers, Karin Slaughter. Now, Pretty Girls I've read just this year, and so far is like one of my favourites of hers. But if we talk about Karin Slaughter generally, I have read quite a few of her books and still got tons still to read. But she's top tier because, in my opinion, she writes utterly gripping plots. They're normally always fast paced, intense, and full of like twists that, I'm not going to lie, I've never guessed. Or you think you guess, and then you're like, uh-oh, no, that's not what's going to happen. She also does really good, strong, complex female characters. She writes them as like tough and flawed, but resilient, so completely away from any stereotypes. And Karin Slaughter does not hold back. If you are at all squeamish, don't go anywhere near Karin Slaughter's books, but she writes dark themes that often tackle the likes of violence, trauma, corruption, and she does not flinch away from the dark side. She also, I think, if you're into more procedurals, she does do a really nice combination of procedural and personal plots. So I think if you're into them and like darkness, Karin Slaughter is a must read. Then we have Liz Nugent, who, similarly to Kanae Minato, I've only read one of their books so far. I've maybe read two. I might have read two. But despite that, I can tell you she is an absolute powerhouse when it comes to dark, character-driven thrillers. This one is one that I want to read next. The one I have read is Sally Diamond, The Strange Sally Diamond. This one is lying in wait. Thinking I've got Oliver's Unravelling on my to-read list. But yeah, how can I recommend a book of a thriller author when I've only read one? Because it was freaking phenomenal. Nugent is really good at focusing her, well, the stories I've read, but from what I believe of other kind of reviews, really good twisted character studies. You know, she's really good at delving into the minds of the deeply flawed and often on a level disturbed characters, but she writes it in a way that makes you want to be there and immersed in that world. I also have to say, slow burn twist, but not in that the pace of the story is slow. It's just like the reveal keeps dangling in front of you, and I'm like, I think I've got it, and then I didn't. And then I don't. From my experience, one book in, jaw-dropping reveals. She also has this really elegant prose and sharp writing, to the point where some people might describe them as literary thrillers, but I'm just kind of like, we don't need the word literary there. It's a goddamn good thriller. Okay, next up, I would describe as one of the modern queens of psychological thrillers. I don't know where she is at right now. If anyone knows, let me know in the comments, but Gillian Flynn, right? I've read Gone Girl, Sharp Objects, and that's the other one. Dark Places, that's the other one. And I'm not right. This book defined a whole genre and I adored it when it came out. It was so unique. Now, if you look at any thrillers, it's like, if you like Gone Girl or if you like Girl on the Train, I'm like, oh, where is the next Gone Girl? That's what I want to know. Like, unique, not a replica. But this blew my mind. If you've never read it, please do read it. It is worth the hype. But also check out Dark Places and Sharp Objects. Gillian Flynn does an amazing job of writing really good, unreliable narrators. If that's a trope that you love, you need to check out her books. Like in this one, you're kept guessing till the bitter end. And a lot of the time, her female characters are so well written, but they're messy and flawed and kind of almost unapologetically complex. I'm just like, oh, I actually need to reread this. It's been a long time, even though I know the end. It's also really good, similar to other women thriller writers in this pile, I would say does like to delve into really dark themes, like the uglier side of human nature. Who doesn't? And this one, and some others, I would say, in her books, she writes stories that are very much not only just about deception but also identity, as much as they are about the actual crimes, etc. being committed. If you haven't picked up a Gillian Flynn, do so, I urge you. And actually, because I think she has only got 3 books, when she's coming out with another one, I have no idea. Someone tell me if they know, because I would read it in a heartbeat. But because these books have been out for ages, you'll absolutely get them second hand at a charity shop. Then there's Claire Douglas. This one doesn't have the title and cover because it's an ARC I got back in the time. This one is The Girls Who Disappeared, which is one of my favourite, but she's done a number of good books that I really enjoy. She is a really good, gripping, accessible thriller writer. Her plots are often twisty and bingeable. Who doesn't love a bingeable plot? And there's often it's often sprinkled with red herrings, which, to be fair, I grab hook, line and I grab hook, line and sinker. Is that right? Is that what you say? Pretty much every time, because I'm rubbish at guessing. Despite the number of thrillers I'll read, I'm rubbish at guessing the plot twists. Often there's a domestic setting in her books where she's really good at turning ordinary lives like neighbours or families or friends into a really twisty, complex story, into a source of creepy unease and danger. She does a nice good balance of plot and character, which I like in her books. You know, they're still fast paced, but you get enough of the character that the characters aren't surface level. There's no fluff, there's no poetic prose in it. That's not a bad thing. I'm saying that in a super accessible, it just keeps the story going and the tension building. So this one is one I would definitely recommend. Then there's been a few, pretty much go into my Goodreads, right? You can't go wrong with a Claire Douglas. Next one up is Katherine Ryan Howard. So I've read quite a few of her books. The Trap was probably the last one I read. This one was 56 Days Later, is based during the COVID times. So if that's not your bag, maybe don't check this one out. But I loved this. I did love this. Now, Katherine Ryan Howard, I would say, is kind of a really good standout voice in the modern thriller scene. She's got good media savvy, innovative plots, knowing that there's either a true podcast element, reality TV, or weaves in true crime, or a viral culture that she can sprinkle in that keeps it quite current. Runtime's one, and Nothing Man, I believe, is the case, because I've not read that one yet. She's also a master at layering her storytelling, because she can manage multiple timeline formats. I don't know how she writes these, whilst also keeping you engaged and gripped, because I think that's quite a balancing act. I can do multiple timelines, I don't mind that, but as long as you keep me on track and I don't get confused by it. I'd also say, because she has a more modern voice in this genre, she's pretty meta in that as an author and a writer, she's very self-aware in her storytelling, and she can play with the genre's rules, so I really like that about her storytelling. She's also another Irish writer. I think Liz Nugent is Irish, so it brings her great distinct Irish voice to her to this genre. Her leads are often very smart, strong women who are often caught in terrifying situations, which I do love about her stories. So check out 56 Days. The Trap is another good one. Runtime I enjoyed but didn't love as much, but other people have loved it, and it's obviously it's set on like the world of movies and the movie industry. So yeah, if you haven't picked up Katherine Howard yet, do so. Also known to many of you is Lisa Jewell. She's a big name in the psychological thriller genre, and I've maybe read 5 or 6 of her books. I'm holding up one I haven't, don't know why, I grabbed it from the shelf. But I'm actually going to see Lisa Jewell at a book event in July, which I'm really excited for. She's got a new book coming out, and I still need to read the last book she had out, not the Marvel one, not for any other reason than I'm just not really into Marvel, but I'm happy to be persuaded otherwise. There's maybe books where I've like The Family Upstairs and The Family Remains are a nice duology. And I actually say I preferred The Family Remains, the book 2, over the first one. So like if you read the first one, you're just like, that was okay, but it was good, but definitely read the other one. Lisa Jewell writes really good, layered, character-driven suspense books. As with many of these authors, the kind of story goes beyond the crime and the plot, but she starts to dig deep into the main characters that are in this book, or in her books, which obviously, to be fair, makes it much more impactful. She's also really good at turning the everyday into something more sinister, as with one of the other authors, maybe it was Claire Douglas I mentioned. She takes, everyday families, neighbours, friends, homes, and likes to like throw in the dark secrets lurking beneath them. Very rarely, well actually, I'm unaware of any of her books not being a page turner. She will often, and there's this one, I don't know if this one, but she'll often, if not do multiple POVs, she'll also do multiple timelines, sometimes both, but in a way that isn't confusing, because I'm easily confused by these things. And often, like with many of these authors, her characters feel real in that they're flawed, imperfect, whilst also being compellingly vulnerable as well. So yeah, I would start with Family Upstairs, then Family Remains. I quite enjoyed Then She Was Gone. Not read this one. If you've read this one, let me know. And it gets really highly rated and is on my TBR I'm going to read this year, is None of This Is True. So check that one out. Have you noticed so far that most of these are women writers? Yeah. I have got some who are men that I do, but not many. No offence. But women authors need more plugging because they don't get the same coverage. But this one here is Sam Holland. She is, I would call like a UK Karin Slaughter. This is her second book, and now who's the detective? I can never remember the detectives. Adam and Romilly are like a detective and doctor who I think does like CSI type stuff. I might have got that wrong, but this is book 2 in that series. It's called The 20. I'm holding this one up because I don't have book 1 to hand. It's The Echo Man, and then there's another 2 after that. These are really good, dark, twisty, intense, violent thrillers. Sam Holland does not shy away from brutal and disturbing storylines, but there's also like a really good gripping police procedural element to her stories. And you've got like the detective series, the detectives involved, who I believe are in the follow-up books. I don't think any of them are standalone. And so if you do like classic crime fiction but don't mind a bit disturbing, check out Sam Holland's stories. Her characters are really like haunting and complex, whether it's the detective, the killer, or the victim. They're always layered and often morally grey. So yeah, check out The Echo Man, and this is The 20 book 2. And then there is Alice Feeney, who is a go-to for twisty, emotionally charged thrillers. This is one of my favourites. Check the spreadsheets. I do love this one. Daisy Dark is one of my favourites of hers. And then her latest one, Beautiful Ugly, which came out this year, is probably the next closest for me. She has a great ability of writing very unpredictable plot reveals, in my opinion. You know, you think you're getting along in the story and you're like, wait, what? No. And I did that with this one and Beautiful Ugly. So if you love unpredictable twists, Alice Feeney is your lady. She's also really good at writing both in this one, I think, and a few others, including Beautiful Ugly and like Rock, Paper, Scissors and a few others. Top-notch, unreliable narrators. She plays with perspective in different ways between characters, and also another person who often can write multiple POVs and timelines, both of which I love. And if you're going to start anywhere, this one's kind of roughly set around Halloween time, so if you're a seasonal reader, you can read it then, but read it anytime. And or pick up Beautiful Ugly. It came out in hardback earlier in the year, so check it when it's due out in paperback, or you'll definitely get it from your library. Another is CJ Tudor. Now, she's often referred to as, is it Britain's Stephen King or something? Yeah, Britain's female Stephen King by the Daily Mail, right? Take with that as you wish. So in the same way that I say, because Stephen King is in this pile here, because he writes amazing dark thrillers as well as horror, I would say the same as CJ Tudor. I would say there can be horrific elements to her thrillers, but I would probably put her more in thriller than horror, maybe dark thrillers. So this was the first of hers that I read, and I think I read this last year. It's set in winter time, so if you like seasonal books, this is a good winter thriller. I've read The Gathering, which probably is closer to horror-ish than thriller in that it has vampires. The Burning Girls, and then I've got a few more others to read. The Chalk Man and Silver something. Can't remember, I've got about 2 or 3 on my shelf still to read. She's really good at doing a blend of dark, eerie and emotional storytelling, often with pretty creepy atmospheric vibes. So in this one we've got 3 maybe POVs, one in a trapped bus, one in a trapped cable car, and one in like a snowed in kind of isolated chalet. So she's very good at setting a scene, and I would say her thrillers, so like The Gathering is one that ekes on supernatural, and she can do a really good job at mixing both psychological suspense, crime, with sometimes a bit of a supernatural vibe. Not always, sometimes. And I would say she's probably more slow burn than some of these other authors, but not, I say that in a good way. I don't know why I have to, but just to confirm, I don't mean that in a bad way, in that she slowly slowly reveals the plots, and there's lots of red herrings along the way that I often fall for, to be fair. There's often, as with many of these authors, relatable but very flawed characters, which kind of makes them feel real, but also you're like, what is the dark secret that they're holding? Again, kind of key sort of trope in the nicest way possible are dual timelines, buried secrets, and like that like uncovering long hidden truths. So that's the kind of vibe that CJ Tudor writes. Really good accessible writing, just a right balance of like really good prose and edgy fast-paced readability. So yeah, I either say start with this, it's got winter vibes, so if you don't want, check out The Burning Girls. Another is Lucy Clark. So she writes really good thrillers, often with a group of women as the kind of collective main characters, and often in quite picturesque or unusual settings. So for this one, we're like in the Norwegian woods, I think. And then another one called The Castaways, and one of the girls, the castaways set in kind of an island. One of the girls is like a Greek holiday that these girls are going on. So there's always some sort of evocative setting, be it a remote tropical island or like a luxury yacht. This one is a group of women hiking together in the Norwegian woods. Again, as I mentioned, really strong female-led characters, and often it's like there's a group of women where you're trying to figure out their dark secrets and how they're connected, which is always fun. And today, most of them I think are like the multiple POVs of those women characters. I mean, if you like holidays gone wrong vibes, this is probably the author to pick up, especially if you're going on holiday, or maybe not. but that's the vibe she gives off, and I do love that in her stories, you know. And because of that, because it's normally about a group of women, there's a bit of like sisterhood, rivalry, grief, trauma, friendship, all the good elements for a thriller. And I would say her writing's just really accessible and pacey. So if you love a great page turner, short chapters, multiple POVs, holiday vibes gone wrong with great women characters, check out Lucy Clark's books. Then I've got 4 men authors who I will auto-buy all their books when they come out from the thriller point of view. And then I have 2 that I've never read, but I have a feeling I'm going to love, because most people that have read them recommend them, and it's often blurbed by many of these authors I've mentioned before. So first up, could I give you a thriller recommendations author without mentioning Stephen King? Of course not. Stephen King is not just a horror writer, he writes amazing thriller books, but they're dark. Dark in the Karin Slaughter-esque way. Mr. Mercedes is a trilogy, which I highly recommend. Do you like dark psychological thrillers? Stephen King is your man. He kind of is really good at blending crime, mystery, horror, but this isn't horror, and he does this really well in the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, Misery, Outsider, I think. Even if you don't like horror but you really like dark thrillers, check out Stephen King. He has unmatched character development. Well, actually there's some women writers who match it pretty well. Often really flawed, unforgettable characters. I mean, Annie from Misery. And I think one of the things I like about it is because it isn't about the spooky unknown or the make-believe. It can be about serial killers. Like, his characters aren't like the freaky winged supernatural characters in his thrillers. They're about the real everyday terror. Kidnappers, serial killers, cult leaders, stalkers, corrupt cops, all of them. And there's always an iconic twisty premise. Then John Mars, can't not mention thriller authors without mentioning John Mars. He writes psychological thrillers as well as speculative dystopian thrillers as well. I would say fiction, but I would say they're still thrillers too. I like both types of books that he writes. The Marriage Act is one of my favourite ones, and on the thriller front, and I think I've still to read the one, and what was the one like? Family Experiment is another one in that similar kind of, what do you call it when it's universe, in that similar universe. So he's really good at like quite good high concept but not out there ideas, in that they're so close to potential reality or near future that they're terrifying. Often very bold original premises. This one is about the Marriage Act that the near future government bring in to encourage people to get married, because those that don't get married are like the fall of society, you know. And whereas the one, which I've still to read and everyone raves about, I know I've not read it yet, is where they do a DNA match for your like perfect partner. So he's really good at like mixing up like tech with tension and morality, identity and relationships. And saying that, he's also like some of his more psychological thrillers, The Good Samaritan. He had one come out this in February and he's got another one coming out. So what was the one in February? You Killed Me First, I've got my Kindle, and that came out, I think that just came out this year. Just checking. Yeah, published in 2025, and then he has a new one. There's a new one coming out that someone flagged to me, and I think it maybe comes out in March next year, but I might be wrong. But the king of short chapters, bingeable storylines, constant twists, multiple POVs, flawed and morally grey characters. So he just makes really like messy people. Twists that just jump off the page. Then as someone who doesn't really read that many series sort of type books, Chris Carter, I'm collecting them all. I'm maybe 5 books in to his Robert Hunter thriller series. This is book 1, The Crucifix Killer, and I swear to God, Chris Carter writes books that are, as you see, as addicted as a TV box set, or as we would say, a Netflix series nowadays. But he is a master of dark, intense and tightly plotted thrillers. This detective crime series, it's like brutal, high stakes. It is dark, it's violent. So his detective and these books delve into the darkest of gruesome murders. And honestly, like if you ever went out a reading slump, sorts it. Well, that's only if you like really dark stories. He's really good at doing like killer versus profiler mind games between the characters because he's got an actual background in criminal psychology, does the author. And so therefore you by default have the kind of cat and mouse nature of his books. The books are fast, man. Fast and intense and full of absolute cliffhangers. And you know what? Chris Carter consistently delivers. I think my book tower's about to fall over. Then, last but not least, one of my other favourite thriller authors is of course the fabulous Riley Sager. This was my first ever Riley Sager. It's still one of my favourites. This here is probably verges on like a wee bit ghostly, but it's a book about a book within a book, but also about a ghost, a haunted house within a book, or something like that. He's just really good at twisty cinematic suspense. He often comes up against criticism for like either it's just too slow burn, or it's not pacey enough, or it's too tropey. No. I pretty much love all the books of his I've read. Survive the Night, The Only One Left, The Middle of the Night, The House Across the Lake, and I'm actually currently reading from his back catalogue The Last Time I Lied, and coming out this summer already on pre-order is With a Vengeance, as in three separate words, With a Vengeance. Again, he's just really good at jaw-dropping reveals, the kind of like, wait, what? Reveal. And the books are like fast-paced, full of thriller tropes that I love. And even though it's full of tropes, I still say it's really unpredictable. Many have sort of creepy, isolated settings. So this one, creepy spooky house, cabin on a lake, gothic creepy house, remote cabins. And also, despite what some people have said, I think he writes really good women characters in Survive the Night and in The Only One Left and House Across the Lake are all ones where I thought they were really good at sometimes unreliable but really good women characters he had written, you know. And there we go, is another trope, unreliable character, the kind of final girl trope, haunted house. But I think he turns them on their head in a really kind of smart, bingeable way. Each are like, unlike the last ones I mentioned about, are all standalone and great edge of your seat thrillers. Now I have two thriller authors of whom I have more than one of their books and I have heard great reviews about, and I'm going to I'm going to highlight, because I can't recommend because I've not read them. But many of my fellow thriller readers have recommended these authors and I have their books on my shelves, and many of the people I've just mentioned in this stack blurb them. First up is Steve Kavanagh. This one's 50-50, which I think might be part of a series, so I think I need to get back to the start of the series, but he does have a couple of standalones, I believe. See Martina Cole, Shari Lapina, another author. I don't think I've ever read a Martina Cole. Don't come for me, but also tell me in the comments if I should. Great read, terrific. Lee Child has also said, this guy is the real deal, trust me. I've no idea what this one's about. 999, what's your emergency? My dad's dead, my sister Sophia killed him, please send help. My dad's dead, my sister Alexandra killed him, please help. One of them is a liar and one is a killer, but which one? See, that sounds pretty good. Oh, maybe this is a standalone. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, I'm going to a book event with Steve Kavanagh because I've heard good things about him and he's a good guy apparently, in July with some friends. So I have a couple downloaded on my Kindle which I think are standalone or the beginning of the series. So if you've ever read this author, let me know your thoughts, and if you also recommend. Then another is Gillian McAllister. I have Wrong Place, Wrong Time, Just Another Missing Person, and another one on my shelf that I've not read. Now, she gets blurbed by Claire Douglas, says superb. And Lisa Jewell, clever twist after clever twist. And Jodi Picoult, who isn't a thriller, well, don't know, I actually do like Jodi Picoult. McAllister stunned me and she will stun you too. So again, Wrong Place, Wrong Time, I've got in hardback, and I got this at the charity shop, I think. And I've just heard really good things. So if you've read either of these thriller authors, let me know in the comments. And also, there's another one I've picked up, one of their books, because one of you folks recommended them in a previous video, but I think I've picked up one that's maybe not, like, I think they write a thriller series, maybe with a detective, I'm not 100% sure, but it's Mo Hader, and I've got one of their books, but I haven't started it. Oh no, I read Birdman? Yes, I read Birdman. Gosh, I have the worst memory. I read Birdman, and that was really good. So that is another author that was new to me. But yeah, I've not, there's quite a few here. There's one, the lovely Michaela on What Michaela Reads really recommends Mark Edwards, and I have one or two of their books down on my Kindle just now because I want to read them, because she really rates them, and I like happily go with her thriller recommendations. But I keep checking out my local libraries and I can't find any Mark Edwards as well. So yeah, again, if that's another author you're aware of and would recommend, let me know. Give me all your recommendations in the comments, both for me and anyone else watching. If you disagree with any of my thoughts here, let me know too. Always happy to chat. And if you would like me to do another sort of video that focuses on a genre and some of my favourite authors in a particular genre, let me know too. But for now, thank you for watching, for liking, for commenting, and if you don't already, please do subscribe. I really do appreciate it. And if you've watched this long and you don't know what to say but would like to let me know you're here, give me a thriller-esque emoji, like a stabby knife. It's not, it's just a knife, a blood drop, a police emoji, I don't know, whatever you think, to let me know you're here. I look forward to seeing all the emojis, and I will catch you in another bookish video very, very soon. Cheerio!